I wish I had gone to a real art school and like had because like the things that you learn at art school and you learn at school are not like the content necessarily of the lessons. Like there's a lot of foundation stuff that you're
Mhm.
learning, but it's like it's learning how to like work on a team towards a project. It's learning how to like finish a real thing. I didn't ever finish a thing in college, and so like my 3D portfolio is a joke because I just like did nothing with it. I learned a bunch of stuff, you know, and I did a bunch of self-taught things. Um, like I learned about like ray trace rendering, and at the time it was like really HDR rendering was just, like this new thing, and so I was like on learning the cutting edge stuff. But like I didn't I didn't have a coordination with other people, and so I felt like my schooling was lacking because I didn't like take it seriously enough.
Hmm.
I don't know. Choose your own path, but
Yeah,
don't.
for sure.
I wouldn't count schooling as unnecessary.
I hear that. I mean, we were speaking kind of ironically last time I had somebody on, Mike. We were speaking about the tertiary education journey and whether or not you need a degree to get into game dev. And it's interesting. I mean, he worked at EA and Rockstar, and I don't think he had a degree in game development at all. He kind of just like started at the bottom and like grinded his way up. I think,
Really?
yeah, I think it's one of those things where having like discipline and motivation and being interested and like present
Yeah.
when it comes to business
And also
opportunities.
playing a lot of games and knowing the game's business. It takes no like you can't be educated on who makes your favorite games and like the trends in gaming and that kind of thing takes just
Hmm.
like playing games, liking the games you like, knowing
Yeah,
why you like them,
yeah.
not just like, you know, I like the game feel. Like you gotta like know what the hell you're talking about.
I hate
Um,
that phrase, game feel.
it's a good phrase when it's used appropriately, but yeah, it can definitely
So
be
broad.
overwrought. Yeah, yeah, and like what I mean, like if you're gonna be on a team, you gotta like know what game feel means, and you gotta know
Mm.
like what it means to you to like have a good game experience. And if you're gonna make games, you gotta know what kind of games you want to make. That's a weird thing to say, but
Mm.
um, like you should know and play the games that you want to make, and then when you're in a team, you can bring that to the team, unless you just want to be like part of the process.
Of course, I think it's really important, and this is kind of to qualify the game feel comment. I don't just hate words. Um, I think it's really important to be able to articulate what it is that you're trying
Yeah.
to achieve, or what it is that is missing, or when you're especially working in a team, being able to have that vision and describe and explain what needs like the direction is so important. I think because otherwise,
Yes.
as a team, you can't design something specific, right? It's kind of
Right.
like
Well, and you can't like have just normal conversations if you're like if you can't find the through line that matters.
mm,
Like, because a lot of conversations can break down into like what everybody's feeling or like what they want to get, and they like. But if they're not like everybody's not on the same page, then your conversations kind of break down.
of
Um,
course, yeah. I guess
so
that's why it's really important to have like the documents, the Bibles that say what this game is. You know, the game design doc. Is that something that you use at your
it's
club?
more important just to have like a common vocabulary.
Hmm.
We have a game design doc, but it's made as we go.
Yep.
So like at you know the first day of production, it had like ideas for mobility and for what the themes of the games, you know, games pillars are. It didn't have all the levels laid out. Um, we like, I think that's actually like one of the things that a lot of students try to do, which is like plan out the entirety of their game forever, and then like this this thing becomes the thing that they make, as opposed to like letting the game kind of have a loose structure and evolve as time goes on.
Oh yeah. I mean, in any design, I think it's so important to have the opportunity to iterate, like because I think most people there's like an Ira Glass quote that I really like, which is the thing. It's in a part of a longer sort of clip. The thing that makes people get into any kind of in this case it was journalism or writing, but I think in any kind of design or creative work it's the same. But the thing that gets you into it in the first place is your taste, and I think the only way you can really exercise that taste is if you have the opportunity to play the thing that you're making in the case of games. And if you have the opportunity to play it, then that should influence the direction, because you don't always design something that's fun the first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably never. And so
Yeah.
it being fun is more important than it meeting some design thing that you just wrote on a blank
Right,
canvas.
yeah.
Right?
Like you can't just design a game on paper. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
You got to like write your ideas down and then let those kind of be guidelines. I can show you a game design doc if you want.
You can?
Yeah, I could probably.
Sure. I come from a background user experience design rather than game design. So the GDD thing is something that I sort of recognize that it's a thing that people in the industry do and expect and use, but I sort of it's never been as a document, like as a formal document. It seems kind of different to what I'm used to. So I sort of have an odd relationship with those. So it is something that you use.
Yeah, so we do use it, but only as a point of reference for like writing down our ideas. It is never like the Bible for like what happens. Let me pull it up, and I'll just get to like one page and make sure it's not. Okay, I can share this.
Okay.
You guys all see that?
Yeah, I can make that a little bigger. Oh, there we go. Hello.
Yeah. So this is sort of like the initial pitch, right?
Wow.
Let me do this. And it's just this. This is like there's like a one-page approach. I think there's like some other stuff, but like the main points of the game are just kind of like broken down here. And this is like the initial idea. At the time of writing this, like nothing was done, but like nothing much more than this was written. You know?
Right.
And then we approach each level separately. Hold on, let me find another. Oop, here we go. Find another area that's really interesting. So here, we for a while didn't have checkpoints, or we had invisible checkpoints like Mega Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to figure out for a long time, well, are invisible checkpoints the best way to go? And so a lot of the discussion was, well, it'd be nice if you could risk your money, or have the money be incorporated into the checkpoint system. And for a while, our idea was, well, let's make it so that if you, it will be a weight, like you stand on it, and as you stand on it, it's going to take away 500 gold, and that's the cost of a checkpoint. And so the idea is to incorporate like gameplay with like the things you're getting, so the coins aren't just like Mario coins.
Yep.
And have the money be real. The problem with that is that it rewards players who are good, but checkpoints are there for players who are bad, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
Sure.
it incentivizes the opposite behavior. And so for a long time we just discussed like what could checkpoints be, and so this section didn't exist. But once we had an idea, we arrived, well, maybe instead of checkpoints being something you pay into, maybe let's flip the script and have the checkpoints pay you if you don't want the checkpoint anymore. And so that was like a discussion that happened. And then after that discussion happened, and we all liked the idea, we all thought it was a good idea, then this was drawn out. And so this is like really this is Sean did this. He like had this like really temp art, and it's like a bubble, and it has like little wings or whatever. Great, cool. He writes down what the things are, how it works. You can see there's no like mention of how many hit points the checkpoint has. Am I wrong on that? The only reason why there's 5 values of checkpoints because that's how many denominations of coins we have.
Right.
But there's no like mention of how many hit points the checkpoint has. There's no mention of like where it goes in the stage, because that sort of stuff is like we'll figure that out later.
Yeah.
Like what the core important parts are is that checkpoints here, it has a flame when you pass it, and the flame looks like the coin. Maybe it actually was a different idea that came later, but then you get the money out. And so from there, then we create this asset list, and this is the thing that I work with Sean on. And so the model.
Do you mind scrolling just a little bit down for that? Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. I don't want to scroll too much. Because I don't know what's I have to
That's
I don't
cool.
want to give away too much. Um, and then our first idea was to palette hue shift based on the money, but eventually it was like, well, it's kind of hard to see the number value, so we did an animation for each
Hmm.
value. Um, and so yeah, this was like going from a discussion to a not like the Bible for what this is, because obviously this doesn't look or behave exactly the way it is in the
Mhm.
game, but this is like the starting point to get us into the game.
Yeah, I guess that's a really great example of how you're using the GTD as a living document and something that, specifically in the case of like the checkpoint, something that you iterated on based on, you know, you had an assumption at the beginning, out of necessity. We'll have checkpoints, right?
Yep.
Either because games have checkpoints or because we think we should have checkpoints. And
Right.
then how should the checkpoints be implemented in our game, based on the other design sort of constraints or mechanics that you had already implemented. And it's
And the assumption that we wanted to do something special with those checkpoints, right? Like we didn't want to just
Right.
have basic checkpoints.
and then finding the opportunity of, oh, we've got this currency in the game, we want there to be an in-game economy that matters to the player, so here's an opportunity, maybe we can have it be something that you pay for. And then the final inversion of that and saying, okay, how does it make sense in the flow of the game? Like that's a great example of I guess how that process, you know,
Yeah.
it's something that you arrive at over time, or at least you let the process allow the ideas to flesh themselves out as you sort of
Yes, definitely.
flesh the game.
And you like you'll play with it for a while and discover that like it works or it doesn't. For a long time, we had this idea that you couldn't go back and play old levels. Like the idea that you would do a run of the game, and like because we played Mega Man so often that we kind of wanted it to be like, okay, you're gonna play the game and like you'll play it for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then it's done. Like don't go back. We don't want people to grind and feel like they need to get everything. But consistently throughout the entire process, every single person who played it was like, "Oh, I can't go back. I can't like get the thing that I missed." And so then we just kind of like we buckled, but it was a long time. It took us like you have your ideas and you know what you think is going to be good.
Yep.
And you play it and you're like, this is the direction we want to take the game.
Yep.
And you're like really serious and you're really sure. And then eventually it's like, maybe we're wrong.
Yeah, and you over time, the more you work on something, the things that have been there for a long time become more concrete because they've been there for a long time. And it can take a lot of sort of a swallowing of pride to say, okay, maybe we're wrong on this one. Maybe what's best for our baby is to do this.
Yeah.
I totally respect that, even as someone who hasn't even released a game. I wanted to ask, you've been speaking a little bit about design decisions that were made on the game. Is that something that everybody in the team had a say in and a kind of influence over? So
Definitely.
your role was artist. To what extent, I guess, did everyone have over the design?
Yeah, so we kind of do things in I guess it's weird, only in that everybody have say, and it's kind of scaled in a weird way. It's like I would say it's scaled organically, where not everybody feels like they need to have their say constantly. But especially in the beginning, when there was just 5 of us, we would all talk about all those points, and they would start with the designer. They would start with Sean, and he would kind of filter out what he thought was like a good idea to take to start with, and then have conversations with individuals, and then we'd have group discussion. And it wasn't like there's not a recipe like how this always happened, but there is like trends, you know. And so we would have a lot of. It looks like you're almost.
Do I need to increase my scale here? Do I need to blow myself up a little bit to sort of compete with the awesome presence of Nick? What can I do here? I can fix this. Hang on. Hang on. I'll get this right.
But yeah, so we discuss all of those things, and not everybody feels the need to jump into those things now that we've had more people hired, and Here, I'll shrink down.
No, it's fine.
That's uncomfortable. Hey Jordan. Yeah, so like we all still talk about those things, and you know, we all look at the mobility together. We look at like what's working, and you know, we do also specialize. So like level design now can kind of like go and do their own thing. They design levels, they have their own discussion, and then we all get back together and play those levels and give feedback if we need to. I can do a lot of things on my own and just like do the art, and then it goes in, and people can say like, oh, that looks bad, you know, let's change this, or that's usually what's said.
Yeah, that's great. Do you think so it sounds like you had a really flat structure, obviously, because the team was quite small. Do you find that now in 2019 has that changed at all?
A little bit, in that like with 5 people, it's like really easy for everybody to kind of say things because there's only 5 voices. Now that we're like, well, the total size of the company right now is 18, but a lot of that is like, you know, like 2 people are ops, so they do operations. For 5 in the QA section, and one of the guys just does this concept and illustration stuff, and he kind of checks out from the, like, he cares about the games, but like he doesn't want to like be in all the discussions, right? He'll like be at the playthroughs. So like it is sort of a weird, like, we have more people and the core team is a little bit bigger, but still like the meetings over things are just about 6 people or so.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, some people talk more, some people have better ideas. Everybody, we all get a chance to share our thoughts.
Well, it's over. Oh, thank you so much for watching this video. I had a lot of fun making it. I hope you had fun watching it. I wanted to say a huge thank you to the patrons for this month. Joe Constant, Smack in the Box, Jacob, Narg, Jim Kulwicki, to Raimu, Elvin King Loki, Chris Jennings, Richard, Faulty Functions, Sabarath, Alex, Robin Fritz, Oxcoxer, Infinite S Lives, and Jared Barboza. Thank you so much, guys. You really are the ones who brought this content to the channel, because without you, I wouldn't have been able to make it. So thanks again. If you'd like to join that list of patrons, scroll down and find the link below. You can also find links to my Twitch channel, to our Discord, to Twitter, to everything your heart could desire when it comes to Insignia and Adam C. Eunice. So thank you so much. Catch you in the next one, and have a nice day.